CNN got a chance to ask a question. Did I get two? That incoming Press Secretary Sean Spicer joins us right now. Sean, did you actually do that? Did you say next time I'm tossing you?
I think Jim Acosta has a very, very false recollection of the facts. Here's what happened. During the press conference, he verbally went after the President of the United States and was aggressive with him, inappropriate, rude, disrespectful to say the least. He shouted down over Mara Liasson, a well-respected longtime journalist who was asking the President-elect a question. He wouldn't stop interrupting both the President-elect and Mara Liasson from asking her question. Then once he did, towards the end of the press conference, he did it again. After the press conference, I went up to him and explained to him that his behavior was unbecoming, disrespectful, rude, inappropriate, and unbecoming of someone addressing the President or President-elect of the United States. And that if it happened again in the future, yes, I would remove him. But the idea that I shouted or I tried to remove him during a press conference is just patently false. I think he owes an apology to the President-elect, to his fellow members of the press corps, and especially to Mara Liasson, who was doing her job to ask a question in a respectful, polite manner.
Well, and here's the thing, there are 250 journalists in that room. Everyone wants to get a question in. CNN had already had a chance to ask a question. He had answered it. And then another CNN reporter, Jim Acosta, he tries to get his question in, and he says, can I ask a question? And Mr. Trump says, no, you can't. Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question? Mr. Trump had already answered him and said, no, you can't. And he was giving someone else a chance.
Well, you're right. I mean, Andy, actually, there was more than 450 reporters that finally, by the time this is all said and done, made it in there. And I think the idea that he somehow feels entitled to ask a question is a bit preposterous. But further, and that aside, I think a lot of these folks had wanted to ask a question. I understand that. But I just think that whether it's Republican or Democrat, I would be here saying the same thing. If someone had addressed President Obama or President Clinton or any president that way, it is disrespectful, rude, childish, and unacceptable for anybody to
especially
treat
for the highest honor, the President of the United States.
That's right. And so I think that at some point there should be a lesson. There were plenty of journalists, and the majority of which who act with respect and in normal protocol and decorum, and I think that's how it should be. But the idea that he feels entitled to and acts in a way that's unbecoming, frankly, doesn't represent the press corps respectfully, and I know that many journalists feel the same way.
Well, let me ask you this. Going forward, BuzzFeed and CNN are going to be in the briefing room for the President of the United States to answer questions. Is he ever going to answer questions from either of those news outfits? Because he had a problem with both of them yesterday.
Well, look, I think he did answer a question yesterday from CNN. The President-elect will take anybody on. He is committed to an agenda that's going to move this country forward, and no one will stand in his way.
He's really mad at BuzzFeed for printing this. Is he going to punish them by not answering their questions?
No, you know what, I don't know that if you look at how quick BuzzFeed's failing, I'm not sure that they'll be around by the time we take office next week. Their trajectory downward's going rather quick. But that being the case, should they end up coming to the briefing room, the President-elect doesn't stand down to anybody. He'll take any question. He's committed to this country and moving it forward, lifting up people out of poverty, helping spur economic growth. So there's nobody, whether or not it's a member of the press or a business leader. You've seen this from the second that he got elected. He doesn't take no for an answer, and he fights to win.
He does. I get that sense. Meanwhile, Donald Trump just tweeted this out. James Clapper called me, National Intelligence Director, yesterday to denounce the false and fictitious report that was illegally circulated, made up phony facts facts, period, too bad, exclamation point. So James Clapper realized he had to make a call because it looks like these leaks are emanating from the intelligence community because those were the unnamed sources that CNN named. So, Sean, there seems to be a problem there, correct? And he's acknowledging that by picking up the phone. Is that right?
Well, I think he just wanted to be very clear that this document that was circulated by BuzzFeed and others that attempted to look like an intelligence document was in fact no, and the Director of Intelligence in his statement last night made it very clear that it was not an intelligence document. Right. And so for folks in the media and others to run with it as if it's gospel truth is just patently, inappropriate. It was just that, a document that had been circulated around the internet, as the director notes in his statement, that had been out there for months.
Rex Tillerson, just to move it on to the confirmation hearings, Rex Tillerson is somebody that was was out there yesterday for quite a long time, first time in the public setting that we know, certainly going for the Secretary of State job. Marco Rubio seems really on the fence about voting for him in his post interviews. Will Donald Trump pick up the phone and talk to the senator?
We'll have to see going forward, but I would commend anybody to watch that hearing yesterday. Rex Tillerson did a phenomenal job, and he shows why the president-elect was correct in choosing him. He's unbelievably qualified for this post. He'll do a phenomenal job as Secretary of State, and his command of the geopolitical situation and landscape that we have right now is something that will be a huge benefit to America and reasserting ourselves around the globe. So I hope Senator Rubio and, frankly, the entire Senate, whether you're Republican or Democrat, realize what an asset the president-elect has chosen to lead our foreign policy.
Sean, we had Rudy Giuliani, former mayor of New York, on with us earlier, and he broke some news to us saying that there's going to be a cybersecurity team, and he's going to lead that team, and that Donald Trump's going to be talking about it today. What more can you add to that?
Well, as you saw last Friday after the president-elect met with the four intelligence chiefs, he put out a statement saying that he wanted a 90-day plan, talking about how we can increase our cyber defense, whether it's governmental institutions, associations, businesses. We've got to do a better job of preventing hacking that the DNC was subject to during this election cycle, and give and empower these institutions with the tools to protect themselves. So Mayor Giuliani is unbelievably qualified to lead this through his work since 9/11 in the cyber world, in the national security world. So he's going to lead and spearhead this effort to make sure that our country benefits from his knowledge and expertise.
All right, the official announcement comes up in about 3 hours. Sean, thank you very much for dropping by.
Thank you, Sean.